Here's what you missed in the last 17 hours. You had 28 videos worth catching up on, covering everything from massive AI breakthroughs to Hyundai warranty extensions, Adobe alternatives, and CATL's battery revolution. Let's start with the biggest AI story of the day. Wies Roth was genuinely fired up about OpenAI's GPT Image 2 release, calling it the largest performance gap in image generation to date. The model scored 1512 on ELO rating versus Nano Banana's 1271, absolutely dominating across categories from 3D imaging to text rendering. Wies was particularly animated during his wine glass testing segment, playfully engaging with his audience about whether the AI passed or failed the challenge, though he maintained the model's kryptonite was creating a proper wine glass filled to the brim. But the real excitement came from his demonstrations. The model generated architectural blueprints with legitimate dimensions and labels, created functional SVG code when awkward, and even rendered GPT Image 2 on a single grain of rice among thousands. He's confident this is just part one, predicting another major model drop within 48 hours. Moving to more troubling news, Theo was genuinely terrified about Qualcomm's decision to close-source their previously open calendar application. He repeatedly used words like scared and terrifying throughout the video, explaining that AI's ability to systematically find security exploits in open-source code is driving companies away from openness out of fear. Despite being friends with the Cal team and having inside conversations trying to prevent this change, he failed to convince them. His core argument was chilling. Historically, successful exploitation required both security knowledge and domain-specific knowledge of target systems, but AI has collapsed the domain knowledge requirement. Now someone with maybe 410 security knowledge and 010 domain knowledge can find real exploits, expanding the potential attacker pool from thousands worldwide to anyone who's done a CTF competition. He cited Anthropic's Mythos finding a 27-year-old vulnerability in OpenBSD by systematically analyzing source code, not advanced hacking, just clever application of AI's parsing abilities. Stefan Mischuk brought a contrarian perspective, arguing enthusiastically that 200 hours of coding study is actually sufficient to get your foot in the door as a developer in 2026. His core thesis was that AI is dramatically reducing the amount of code developers actually write, shifting the role toward orchestration and AI tool management. Stefan, drawing on his decades of commercial development experience since the early 90s, explained that when he started, developers wrote massive amounts of code from scratch frameworks, data access layers, authentication. Each wave of technology eliminated more manual coding, and AI represents the next phase. He was particularly critical of data structures and algorithms emphasis, arguing it's become pretty much not important at all with AI. The key skill now is macro understanding, making architectural decisions about languages, frameworks, and databases while learning to build harnesses that work around AI models. Speaking of knowledge systems, Nate B. Jones got genuinely excited analyzing the difference between Karpathy's viral wiki approach and his own open brain system. He explained they represent fundamentally different memory architectures. Karpathy's system does heavy thinking at input time, compiling knowledge into organized wiki pages, while OpenBrain synthesizes fresh analysis at query time. Nate was protective but fair, acknowledging both approaches serve different needs. Karpathy's wiki wins for deep research mode, where you're reading papers over weeks and building understanding, while OpenBrain excels for precise structured operations like show me every meeting note from Q1 where pricing was discussed. His solution? A hybrid architecture keeping OpenBrain as the permanent structured store while adding a wiki layer as a compiled view, getting the best of both worlds. On the hardware front, Max Tech revealed surprising news that even Apple couldn't sidestep the current memory crisis. They're delaying two high-end Macs, the Mac Studio with M5 Ultra and MacBook Ultra, primarily due to global memory supply constraints. The host was particularly animated when discussing the economics. Apple has completely removed the 512 GB memory option because they can make more profit selling 32 base model M5 MacBook Pros at $1,700 each than one high-end Mac Studio. Current Mac delivery times support this strategy. M4 Mac Mini won't arrive until May 27th. MacBook Airs are sold out until May, and even simple RAM upgrades push MacBook Pro delivery into May. The silver lining? The October delay might allow the return of higher memory configurations if supply improves. The AI Daily Brief covered OpenAI's controversial Chronicle feature, a screen capture memory system for codecs that builds context through background monitoring. The presenter maintained his measured news anchor style, but showed mild skepticism about whether recent developments represent genuine breakthroughs. Chronicle works by taking screenshots to build running memory of workflows, helping codecs understand contextual references. Internal OpenAI reactions were enthusiastic. Greg Brockman called it surprisingly magical, and Sam Altman said the internal name, telepathy, matched the experience. Meanwhile, Anthropic's political situation took an interesting turn as CEO Dario Amodei met with senior White House officials to discuss cybersecurity implications, representing a potential détente despite recent hostile rhetoric. Jamie from Teachers Tech demonstrated Claude AI's new Excel integration with genuine enthusiasm, calling the data cleaning capabilities worth pausing the video to install. He showed how natural language prompts can transform Excel into a conversational tool understanding spreadsheets, cleaning messy data, extracting information from PDFs, and building spreadsheets from scratch. His most impressive demonstration involved cleaning customer data with multiple formatting issues, dates in 4 or 5 different formats, inconsistent phone numbers, and packed addresses. What would take 20 minutes manually was completed in 15 seconds. He then extracted data from a 27-line item vendor statement PDF in 20-30 seconds versus 20 minutes of manual typing. The cross-application functionality particularly excited him. Claude shared context between Excel and PowerPoint, creating executive summaries without any copying or pasting. Climate activist Kimiko Hirata shared her strategic approach to canceling coal plants in Japan with measured determination. After the 2011 Fukushima disaster, coal plant proposals surged to 50 projects, but Hirata's collaborative approach helped cancel 17 out of 50, totaling 9 gigawatts of capacity. Her key insight was that local communities often didn't prioritize climate concerns over immediate issues like jobs and income. So she broadened her messaging beyond climate change to include economic risks and health impacts from air pollution. The culmination was a bold shareholder proposal to Mizuho Bank demanding disclosure of Paris Agreement-aligned business plans. She vividly recalled predicting 10% support, while an Australian friend predicted 17%. The actual result was 34%, including large institutional investors, becoming major national news. Marc Andreessen provided fascinating analysis of how the internet has transformed media and politics, treating the chaos as an intellectually curious phenomenon rather than condemning it. He explained how we're experiencing randomonium, viral social media meme explosions following a predictable 2.5-day cycle, where each outrage moment spikes intensely then decays, completely forgotten when replaced by the next controversy. Drawing on Marshall McLuhan's concepts, he argued the internet creates a global village, where 8 billion people experience small-town social dynamics despite humans evolving to handle only about 150 direct relationships. Paradoxically, he claimed political violence is at historic lows because people channel violent impulses into virtual combat rather than physical violence. His prediction: we haven't seen the first truly internet election with a purely internet-native candidate who ignores television entirely. He expects this by 2032. Maximilian Schwarzmuller analyzed the economics behind tightening AI subscription limits with analytical resignation. He explained that Anthropic's testing of removing Claude Code from Pro plans, though affecting only 2% of users, fits a broader pattern of companies realizing unlimited usage is unsustainable. The core issue? Modern agentic workflows burn through hundreds of thousands or millions of tokens quickly, far exceeding what original subscription pricing anticipated. He broke down the math. Claude Opus 4.7 costs $5 per million input tokens and $25 output, while a $200 max subscription should only provide about 8 million output tokens at API rates. The compute scarcity crisis is driving up costs. Memory is expensive for inference, networking gear is in high demand, and energy constraints require off-grid power solutions. His prediction: stricter limits will continue, potentially making subscriptions feel worthless and driving significant price increases. Claire Val dove into Claude Design's capabilities with genuine enthusiasm, tempered by honest frustrations. She was excited about its design system integration. Importing Lenny's newsletter branding took just 5 minutes and produced brand-consistent landing pages, though she noted the telltale sign of Claude Design slop is overuse of italicized serif fonts. Her favorite demonstration was creating a 90s GeoCities version of Lenny's newsletter, complete with Comic Sans and brick backgrounds, calling it "Look at this beauty." But the tool's biggest weakness became painfully apparent: speed. She repeatedly hit credit limits requiring a $200 top-up, and emphasized that while Figma allows instant iteration, Claude Design requires 5-10-minute waits for each change, making the feedback loop painfully slow for design work. She concluded that while it excels at brand-consistent prototyping, it won't replace Figma for iterative design due to these speed limitations. Infrastructure engineer Yao Yue came in with playful irreverence, describing herself as here to sow trouble about the industry's blind acceptance of line charts. Drawing on 7 years as an on-call engineer, she argued that line charts dominate telemetry visualization not because they're best, but because they're the easiest default output from time series databases. Her central critique was that line chart interpolation introduces pixels that may not represent reality, potentially hiding important information. She demonstrated how simple transformations could reveal insights hidden by noise. Windowed averages made throughput changes obvious, and showing raw data as dots instead of lines revealed deployment impacts invisible as line charts. Her framework focused on 3 criteria: data shape, telemetry type, and actual business questions. Most powerfully, she showed how transforming time series into panel data answered direct questions like, can we add load without impacting SLO? Rather than forcing users into squinting-based analysis. Manolo Remedi brought passionate philosophy to AI alignment, clearly frustrated with corporate approaches and defensive of creative experimentation. He argues that developing personal taste through following resonance and exploring dissonance is crucial for creating quality AI outputs versus slop. His core critique of AI alignment was scathing. When companies claim their AI is aligned, they mean aligned to corporate values, not individual users, creating a monoculture he compared to dictatorship. True alignment should mean AI adapting to individual users' instructions and preferences. He's developing this into his Resonant OS project, where users can map different mental states to help AI operate at specific energy levels on demand. He got particularly animated when explaining his personal process. Recording think aloud sessions while walking his dog, capturing exploratory thinking that AI analyzes to map his high-level thinking patterns, allowing AI to operate at his peak thinking level without the time and energy to reach those states naturally. Jacob Lauritzen from Legora brought pragmatic experience to agent interface design, speaking with slight weariness but clear expertise from serving 1,000+ law firm customers. His central thesis was that agents handling complex, long-running tasks need better interfaces than chat. He described the familiar frustration: asking an agent to research and draft a contract, waiting 30 minutes for delivery, then asking for a clause revision only to watch the agent begin compaction, essentially context rot where it forgets previous work and changes more than requested. His solution focuses on high-bandwidth collaborative artifacts, persistent interfaces like documents where users can highlight specific clauses for targeted changes, add comments, tag agents and collaborators, and hand off sections to specialized agents. For contract analysis, they use tabular review interfaces presenting results in structured tables, allowing quick identification of issues requiring human judgment before continuing agent work. He emphasized that while language is the universal interface for human communication, agents aren't humans and shouldn't be constrained to human language limitations. Dave Farley interviewed the creators of nWave with his characteristic thoughtful enthusiasm, particularly excited because their approach aligns with his software engineering philosophy. Alessandro and Mike built an open-source AI development system using 23 specialized agents that guide developers through the entire software lifecycle. Dave showed clear excitement when explaining how the tool emphasizes fundamental principles over quick coding wins. Alessandro's key insight resonated with Dave. The temptation with AI tools is to let AI code rapidly without proper problem understanding. But software engineers' most important responsibility remains understanding the problem space before considering solutions. They described sophisticated prompt engineering considerations. Certain models like Opus 4.6 overtrigger when prompted with words like must, always, or absolutely in capitals. The system assumes small steps guided by continuous human-machine interaction and is deliberately opinionated, supporting practices they believe are good. Hexagonal architecture, deployment pipelines, and test-driven development. The AI for Humans hosts were genuinely excited about OpenAI's Image Generation 2 model, describing it as a banger episode repeatedly. Gavin got particularly animated demonstrating the absurd, Snorf Butcher diagram results, laughing at the dark humor of detailed preparation instructions for a fictional Muppet-like character described as loving tickles and being an excellent hugger. Kevin showed measured excitement when explaining technical capabilities, but got visibly impressed by specific examples like text written on individual grains of rice. They demonstrated a complete AI-to-AI creative pipeline. Gavin fed a generated website image to Claude to write a TikTok script, then used another AI tool to create a video of someone actually making a disgusting meal combining ramen, tuna, Coke, American cheese, chocolate chips, marshmallows, Cheetos, cocktail juice, garlic, soy sauce, and blue cheese. The hosts also covered industry consolidation news. xAI acquiring Cursor for $6 billion, and Suno becoming the one music app globally, surpassing Spotify and Apple Music. John Mita shared practical insights from his 2026 Design in Tech report with casual authority from his Cozy AI Kitchen. His first tip addressed a straightforward but critical problem. Organizations have large, complex code bases that exceed AI context windows, resulting in what he colorfully called sloppy slop output. His solution is systematic downsizing, progressively cutting code bases in half, cut it in quarters, cut it in eighths, until you find the minimum viable user experience that fits in a repository small enough for AI to process effectively. The goal is creating working replicas of original applications, simplified enough for AI agents to produce high-quality results instead of being overwhelmed by massive code bases. This enables different team members, product managers, designers, and engineers, to interact with the code through prompting and get good results rather than poor output. Magnus Martinson demonstrated Azure's approach to taming enterprise data estates with genuine enthusiasm after 14 years as an Azure MVP. He got visibly excited discussing AI's potential for data analysis, calling it his magic moment, realizing that while processing massive diagnostic data was challenging for humans, AI excelled at analyzing large datasets. His demo showed Azure Service Groups, a new preview feature allowing users to explicitly define application structure up to 10 levels deep, creating persistent records of what applications actually are. Combined with health models, this creates visual topology maps showing resource relationships and health status. The AI integration provides investigation summaries in natural language, identifying involved resources, suggesting explanations, and recommending solutions. A key insight: the AI has macro-level knowledge across all Azure customers while maintaining privacy boundaries, so it knows whether hundreds of other customers are experiencing similar issues, potentially indicating broader service problems rather than application-specific issues. IBM's Krishnan Padmanabhan explored retail banking transformation with measured optimism, treating the AI revolution as a fascinating analytical subject. He argued this represents the most profound enterprise technology shift since computers began, driven by three factors: the move from automation to reasoning capabilities, English becoming the new programming language for broader accessibility, and exponential change curves. When challenged about whether AI truly reasons, he acknowledged the debate but argued that scale produces results that appear like reasoning. His concrete example was compelling. Instead of just receiving credit score rejection, customers could receive explanations like, "You've been at 90% credit card utilization for months, 40% of income services other debts, and spending patterns are inconsistent," along with actionable improvement advice. Both speakers agreed that regulatory frameworks make banks ultimately responsible, with specific accountability roles preventing delegation of responsibility to AI systems. Game from Scratch's Mike was genuinely gleeful about competitive developments facing Adobe, with clear anti-Adobe sentiment throughout. He seemed particularly satisfied discussing how Adobe should be quaking in their boots, given unprecedented competition across their core product lines. DaVinci Resolve 21 added photo editing to compete with Lightroom while remaining free. 2 new free motion graphics tools emerged within weeks: Cavalry, acquired by Canva, and Autograph, acquired by Maxon, taking on After Effects. Most significantly, Canva's acquisition of Serif made Affinity's Photoshop Illustrator InDesign alternatives completely free after previously costing around $60 each. He also highlighted emerging DUI-TOL applications like Pixie Editor for procedural graphics creation and Graphite for 2D content creation that could fill roles across multiple Adobe products. His excitement was palpable when emphasizing the breadth of competition Adobe now faces, suggesting their stock performance reflects investor concerns about this competitive pressure. Switch and Click attempted to escape Google's ecosystem with mixed enthusiasm that turned to frustration during technical challenges. The creator started optimistic about self-hosting Nextcloud as a Google replacement, but became increasingly frustrated during setup, openly admitting to cursing under my breath and wanting to punch a wall when configurations failed repeatedly. After switching between Linux Mint, Ubuntu Server, and finally Fedora Workstation, plus wrestling with Docker, domain configuration, and SSL certificates, he eventually resorted to feeding screenshots to ChatGPT for breakthrough insights. Once working, he found mixed results. Nextcloud's core features like files, photos, and talk worked well, but mobile app limitations created problems. The official Notes app had terrible 2.3-star rating with constant disconnections. His solution involved using CalDAV for calendar task, syncing with Apple's native apps, and switching to standard notes, owned by Proton, for a better note-taking experience. The Ioniq guy was clearly relieved, but remained skeptical about Hyundai's ICCU warranty extension from 10 years 100,000 miles to 15 years 18,000 miles for 2022-2024 Ioniq 5s and 2023-2025 Ioniq 6s. While pleased that Hyundai finally took action after years of widespread ICCU failures, he called it the bare minimum and expressed frustration that it took so long. He was particularly direct when noting there's no beating around the bush about ongoing ICCU issues. The coverage excludes 2025-2026 models, which he found confusing since these newer vehicles are still experiencing issues based on Facebook and Reddit reports. However, he got excited about how this affects his personal car shopping, with his Ioniq 6 lease ending. He's now considering older high-mileage Ioniq 5s he previously avoided, since the extended warranty makes vehicles under 180,000 miles attractive options. The electric Viking was genuinely excited about CATL's battery breakthrough, despite being visibly unwell with chest infection and food poisoning. He was rushed but couldn't contain his enthusiasm, calling CATL's announcement just ridiculous and truly a remarkable achievement. CATL revealed 4 battery technologies that significantly outperform recent announcements from BYD, Geely, and Sunwoda. The standout was a lithium iron phosphate battery, charging 1080% in just 3 minutes and 44 seconds, beating competitors by nearly 3 minutes. Most significantly, this LFP battery achieves 230 Wh/kg energy density, the highest ever for lithium iron phosphate technology, compared to 192 Wh/kg for Geely's and 190 Wh/kg for BYD's fast-charging batteries. The battery also performs exceptionally in cold conditions, charging 98% in 9 minutes at -30 degrees Celsius and retains over 90% capacity after 1,000 cycles. The Electric Viking interviewed First Phosphate CEO John Passalacqua about their $16.7 million Canadian government funding, with Sam getting visibly excited about a valuation opportunity. Passalacqua was measured and diplomatic. Pleased with bipartisan political support, they've received a rare signing ceremony where Liberal, Conservative, and Bloc Québécois representatives all attended. The funding is non-refundable and non-dilutive, supporting 2.5 years through their feasibility study to develop phosphate concentrate for battery-grade purified phosphoric acid. Sam had an aha moment when realizing First Phosphate trades at only 5% of net present value, while other critical mineral companies typically trade at 20%, a massive valuation disconnect. His brain was firing about the opportunity since phosphate demand should increase more than nickel demand as the industry pivots toward lithium iron phosphate batteries. Passalacqua disclosed he personally bought 3 million shares over 3 years, including a purchase at 79 cents just 3 weeks before the interview. Sam Evans delivered his list of worst EVs to avoid with confident, unapologetic authority, clearly frustrated with poor implementations. He was particularly exasperated with Toyota's Hilux EV, calling it a white elephant, costing $75,000 AUD for just 240 kilometers range, making it one of the most expensive EVs per kilometer globally. He showed vindicated satisfaction discussing Fisker's bankruptcy after getting roasted by his own viewers for predicting it correctly. The ocean left owners wondering who would support their $70,000 cars long-term. He was genuinely concerned about safety issues, particularly the Jaguar I-Pace becoming the recurring fireball machine. He personally knows of over 30 that burned to the ground. Despite multiple recalls, Jaguar's February 2026 NHTSA filing still reports thermal overload issues. Other notable mentions included the Mazda MX-30 with its tiny 35 kWh battery, the Maserati Gran Turismo Folgore costing $490,000 AUD for 450 km range, and the GMC Hummer EV as the anti-EV EV, weighing nearly 4 tons. Finally, Yang Ye was genuinely enthusiastic about the Expanse, Osiris Reborn closed beta, clearly excited as a fan of the Amazon series. He came away very impressed despite technical issues, calling it a potential Mass Effect rival with strong environmental detail and tactical combat. He was particularly struck by the authenticity NPCs, with idle animations making them seem busy, ambient chatter, visible space activity when looking out station windows, and news broadcasts detailing events from the show. The Mass Effect-inspired combat featured third-person cover shooting with commandable squadmates and tactical pause, where run-and-gun tactics wouldn't work. He appreciated that active abilities came through equipment called gadgets rather than class restrictions, allowing custom loadout mixing. Most importantly, player choices had dramatic impact, and early decision determined whether the beta ended in massive casualties and station destruction versus survival, and the game didn't label decisions as good or bad, focusing on unpredictable consequences. That wraps up your 17-hour catch-up. We're clearly in the middle of some massive shifts, from AI breaking through creative barriers to the slow death of unlimited subscriptions. Keep an eye on those enterprise memory shortages and enjoy the free alternatives rolling out.